In this video, I'm going to very briefly talk about the one thing, the one tool that I would recommend you to use first and foremost. If of all the healing modalities I've done, of all the tools I had, of all the things I've tried out over a decade, when you have no idea what to do and where to start and you're really overwhelmed, then start there. Hello everyone, I'm Christine. I help people navigate through difficult life transitions, trauma healing and transformation. And this is a short video today because I already talked about this a lot, but I cannot stress this enough. How important this one modality is as a foundation for healing basically almost every trauma and every wounding. And therefore the root cause of, I would say, 90% of all your problems in life, in all areas of life or wherever you struggle the most, whether it's relationships or money and career or whatever. It's probably all of them like it was with me. And so if someone asked me or threatened me, you can speak only about one thing. You have to reduce everything you talk about to one thing only that you would tell people to do. What would it be? And then I would say, hands down, inner child healing. And with that hand in hand goes the reparenting. Root cause lies, I would say, to 80-90% in childhood trauma, where whatever, at any age range between, baby up to teenager. And there can be also a prenatal trauma when you're still in the womb. And then there is, of course, other trauma that I'm not going to get into, but it's good to know that there is ancestral trauma, that there is past-life trauma, that there is collective trauma. Sensitive souls will probably have maybe all of them, somehow silently in the background, deeply in the subconscious mind. But for the sake of healing, the biggest obstacle to having a really good life, I would really say do inner child healing first. Start there. Because most of the wounding occurred in childhood. That's when our emotions got, for whatever reason, were not welcome. We couldn't express them. We were made feel bad about even having emotions, let alone negative emotions. Maybe we were ashamed for it. Maybe we were even scared of them. So we learned to push them away. We push them down. When trauma occurs, whatever really overwhelming situation, overwhelming emotions, then we would have suppressed them. We would have pushed them away. We would have even in some way fragmented a little. And there are exiled parts. I talk about this in other videos of ourselves. In many, many cases, it's exiled child parts and teenager parts in several age stages. And again, depending on what kind of trauma you had, with complex childhood trauma, developmental trauma, it's ongoing. It's like the first 18 or 20 years of your life when you live with your parents or caregivers. And they were traumatized themselves. They were unhealed. They had some sort of mental, emotional problems and maybe personality disorders, maybe addictions, or extreme emotional immaturity. Then you would have some sort of developmental trauma, maybe also attachment trauma. And it doesn't really matter, to be honest, what kind of trauma it is. I mean, you can, but I would not recommend you to approach that from mostly the mind level and analyze everything to death, but rather go directly to the root cause where it all started and that's the emotional somatic level. And that includes, because it's linked, the psyche and all the negative limiting beliefs we developed back then when we were little. And it's like this big mess, you know, when it's Christmas approaching and you try to get the fairy lights out, and it's all like a big mess, a big ball, a cable salad, and you have to start somewhere. You have to start disentangling that big messy ball. And it's a bit like this. You have to start somewhere. And I recommend you to not get stuck in either you come from the soul level, the spiritual level, because you're a very spiritual person. You are very comfortable in these other realms. And then you might get stuck somewhere up there, but you never go inside your body where the trauma really lives and where it needs to be healed. Or you're a very rational person. You're probably not, otherwise you wouldn't be watching these videos. But let's just say you're very, very, it's all about the mind and the cognitive level, and you might do research and read articles and watch videos and maybe have a talk therapy, and you talk about it and you try to analyze everything and you try to figure out what happened. That can be very helpful, and it's good for the mind to understand a little what happened. But again, it does not heal the trauma itself because it's on the cognitive level. But you need to go much, much deeper. And the only way, at least in my experience, that this can happen is you have to start with inner child healing. And that is not a one-time thing, and that is not a quick fix. I'm sorry. This will take time and patience and commitment and lots of compassion and love with yourself during that process. But again, you have to start somewhere, right? So my huge recommendation for you is to start there. Start to make contact with your inner child. I talk about this also in other videos in more detail. If you don't know at all what to do, there are millions of guided meditations out there. There are inner child healing specialists and therapists. And then there is also somatic experiencing, or any kind of somatic techniques that I would also strongly recommend you to take on board pretty much from the beginning, because it's all linked. I started with inner child healing quite soon, quite in the beginning of my journey, together with the spiritual stuff. But the problem was that I went to my emotions at some point, but I didn't really go into the body. Like, I was very, very disconnected and dissociated from my body. So it took very, very, very long, many years until I kind of started to land in the body. And only after the breakup with my partner, who was with me this whole decade of doing this healing work, only then I could get to the deeper somatic levels where my pre-verbal trauma lived, or at least the root cause. The more surface layers I could heal over time, but I could not get to the deepest somatic, pre-verbal, very, very, very young inner child parts, where that initial trauma, which was a severe early attachment trauma, and that happened when I was like 1.5, 2 years old. So to save yourself a lot of time and maybe money for doing random stuff, I would really recommend you, number one, start inner child healing work with combined reparenting work. And number three, start somatic techniques, because the trauma lives in the body. And when you're very disconnected and dissociated from your body, which is highly likely with trauma, you have to get into your body. You have to get out of the higher whatever realms. You have to get out of your mind. You have to get into your body. It makes it so much easier also to access your emotions, to feel your emotions fully and to express them. And when you do that, then they get released. And at some point, all this heavy stuff will just be released because you got to it. You got to the root cause where they started, and where they were once like frozen and split off. So you get to that level, you feel them, you integrate them, you get your exiled parts back, you become more and more whole, you become more and more comfortable with feeling all these emotions that you could not feel when you were little because they were too overwhelming and too scary. And you will start to heal on a much more holistic level, and your life will start to change for the better. So again, if you're just at the very beginning and you have no idea what to do and where to start with inner child healing. Reparenting goes hand in hand with that, because you have to step into the loving parent that you probably never had. You have to tell your inner child all the things that you wanted or would have needed to hear from your parents, how loved you are, how safe you are, how welcome the emotions are, that you will never abandon it ever again, that, you know, that he or she's safe with you, and so on. And the more you do that, and the more you can in real time, when something happens, when you're triggered, when you're extremely scared or angry or grieving or whatever, you can, at the same time, while you feel all that and while you express these emotions, you can, that part of you, that inner parent, can basically step back a little, observe what's going on, and can soothe that scared inner child in real time. And can comfort it, and can say these things like, it's okay to cry, you're safe with me, I'm right here. All these things. So that is the reparenting work that basically, these two are linked. And I would strongly recommend you to not just do one of them, but like see them as, they are linked, they work together. It's the same thing. Child healing and reparenting is sort of belongs together. Plus the somatic level, plus, reconnect with your body, get into your body, do somatic. You can do somatic breath work. You can do somatic experiencing. You can just simply also walk, be in nature, put your feet on Mother Earth, swim, dance, sing, anything that involves the body and the expression of the body. And like really, really, really start to befriend your body more and more and more, because then it's so much easier to get to these root causes and to get to these emotions that were maybe buried for a very, very long time. So again, if there's this one tool only, I would say that covers maybe 80-90% of, all the issues and all the problems. Do this one thing, do inner child healing with the reparenting, and take the somatic level on board. So that's it for today. Very short video. If you're confused, if you're overwhelmed, if you have this big mess, this cable salad, and you don't know how to disentangle it, how to start, where to start there. Start there. Inner child healing, reparenting. And, fairly early on your healing journey, if not immediately, together with inner child healing and reparenting, do the somatic work. So that's it for today. I hope it was helpful. I hope you have a great day, and I send you all my love, and good luck with your healing journey. You can do it. And I'm very, very, very happy that you're here. I'm very grateful. Leave me a comment, leave me a like or a subscription to help me grow this channel, and see you soon. Bye-bye.